Happy Monday. Thank you for joining me for this week's Weekly Wisdom. Now, for the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about how do we prepare for 2023. It is almost the end of the year. The new year is coming around. So what do we do to prepare for that? Now, last week's video was all about systems over goals. Why are systems more important than goals? This week's video, we're going to spend looking at the beginning of reviewing the past year. So this week and next week is going to be a two-part series on how do we review the past year. Now, what I want you to do is to sit down, find some quiet time. Now, for me, quiet time involves going to Starbucks, getting my chai latte, putting in my earbuds, and then going to town. Yes, it's not quiet like we would think of, but the energy gets me excited, and it's a place where I can feel creativity. And so I sit down in my quiet place, whatever your quiet place looks like, but not your normal office, not your normal place, someplace new. And think about what worked over this past year. What went well? If you had to think about what are some of those things that I want to take from this year and bring into next year, what are those things? And I want you to break it up into two sections: personal, professional. What are some of those things personally that we want to bring forward? What are some of those things professionally that we want to bring forward? Like this year, my husband and I had a lot more conversations about what was and was not working for our relationship. Y'all, I was traveling like crazy this year. So we started unintentionally doing check-ins a lot more frequently. That's something that I want to continue moving forward in the future. No matter how often I'm traveling, I love the fact that we were constantly checking in with each other. And then professionally, I want to look at what were the events that I had last year that I'd like to replicate. What are the trainings and the groups that I worked with that I really connected with and I want to move forward with? Or maybe find groups that are similar to those groups, right? So look at what worked really well last year. And then be specific, your top 2 or 3 things from your personal world and your professional world. Write it down. This is going to be a journey where every week you're going to have one task that we want you to do to help move into 2023. And this week it's all about looking back at what worked. Yes, I know y'all are like, but what about what didn't work, Summer? We're going to have time for that. Spoiler alert, that's next week. But for this week, it's all about what worked. And then if you're looking at something and you're like highlighting it, starring it, put a sticker because you're like, this is the thing. Just take a quick moment while you're thinking about it, while your brain is in that space to be creative, think about things differently than it usually is, and write down, how did you get there? Very high level. Again, we're not diving deep, very high level. What did you do that set you up to be able to receive whatever it is that you're talking about? Right? So your homework this week, should you choose to accept it, is looking back at 2022 and determining what worked. Write down 2 or 3 things in your personal world, 2 or 3 things in your professional world. Talk about what works so we know what we want to continue moving forward into 2023. All right. Thank you very much for joining me for this week's Weekly Wisdom. As always, it is an absolute pleasure. Have an amazing week, and don't forget, you got this. I'll see you next week.